Hi, I'm Anitra Griffin. I am a senior computer science and media double major at UNC Asheville, and I work for I'm an intern at the WNC broadband project. And how I got started in this is because broadband is a very close to the heart issue, especially right now in COVID. And our chancellor of our university, Nancy Cable, she's very excited and want to work with and foster getting broadband equity, especially for West North Carolina and for our school in Asheville. The project that I'm doing right now is going through a few different areas in Western North Carolina and seeing what type of internet services are provided there and different rates for them. I'm doing this research because of our recent summit that brought this up, because we have an annual broadband summit that we do for the broadband issues and broadband advocacy in Western North Carolina. So this was on broadband leadership summit that we did. And because of that, we were looking through the different options and the availability of different broadband resources here in Western North Carolina, especially now during COVID when everything is so related to and based on internet and broadband. You want to make sure that you have the best quality, you can get everything that you need to get, do your your telecommunications, your telehealth, you're working from home, doing school from home. There's just so many things relying on it now. So we're trying to figure out, okay, how can we advocate more for Western North Carolina and North Carolina in general to get us better broadband? So what I was asked to do in this research was to go through 6 different sites that my boss, William Cedarberg, gave me. So he found these homes on ZillowMaps.com, Zillow.com's maps throughout Western North Carolina, different counties, and he identified these homes within neighborhoods that weren't really isolated or rural, so they were just middle-class neighborhoods with homes valued between $250,000 and $400,000. So we weren't looking at the ultra top tier or the bottom tier. So we're just looking at something in the middle where most people would live who would most likely have broadband. So what I found out was that most of these broadband companies and the broadband availability varied so much from neighborhood to neighborhood within Western North Carolina. Half the time it would vary house to house, which is very interesting. And for our research, we are basing our minimum tier for broadband at a 100 megabytes per second upload speed, which was kind of a little bit high for a lot of the places. Because for many of the places in Western North Carolina, there's a lot of trees, a lot of mountains, a lot of hills, things that can definitely skew how you're going to receive your Wi-Fi and your internet. So we can either have like DSL, we can have satellite services, we can have fiber services. There's just so many services that you can have that are infrastructure based. So you have to build the infrastructure first before you can get these higher services. And also the pricings are pretty difficult because a lot of them you have to have a bundle of services, you have to have your taxes. You either will do a specialty price for like your first year or first 2 years, and then it'll bump up from that. And then also some homes may be serviced by one provider and then the house next to it may not be serviced by that same provider either. So back in 2019, our high speeds used to be about 25 megabits download, like megabits per second download speeds. But because of COVID and because of what we're going through right now, we were doing our research based on 100 megabits per second because there's more people in the house, there's more people on the internet, more devices, especially right now when you need a device for every person in your home doing every other thing. And then your TVs can also connect to the internet. So for that, lots of our resources, many of them didn't really have a fiber option except some of the really big companies. And then most of those fiber options were in the larger cities in Western North Carolina. So in Asheville, you would be able to get a fiber optic broadband signal and get up to 100 megabits per second. While in a smaller county, you wouldn't be able to even get that provider, or you would have it up to 50 megabits per second, but it wouldn't be fiber at all. And then for some of the smaller companies, the ones that are more local, you either have like a satellite service or maybe a DSL service, something that's not as fast as fiber, but you can still get some of the speeds. Or if you're in a more rural county in Western North Carolina, you may not even have those options at all. Like in some counties, let's say, it was harder for me to find providers and any evidence of internet's broadband in like the reservation, which is in Western North Carolina, and like Robbins is it Robbins? It's like either Robbins, North Carolina, or Chioa, like Robbinsville, North Carolina, or Chioa, where the reservations are. It was harder for me to find service there, so I don't know if they have their own inside services that deal with internet there, or if they just not deal with infrastructure and internet in the reservations. And in some places, you would only have maybe the big services because they're the only one providing for it because it's everywhere, or you just wouldn't have any at all. Because I know in a bunch of places in more rural Western North Carolina, probably where you have more trees and more hills and worse infrastructure that the county can't afford, you wouldn't really have any internet service at all. You probably have to use your cell service. If that, you don't lose that. Because I know sometimes when I go too far, you'll lose cell service. It's kind of like that. So we need to definitely work on getting infrastructure for different places so that we're able to be more connected across Western North Carolina, especially in areas where we need internet. Because I know a bunch of people right now are talking about how they don't have access to internet, so they're unable to do their schooling. So it was way harder to do virtual schooling when the peak of COVID happened. Luckily, the Western North Carolina Broadband Project is working on facilitating these conversations with leaders and people in other counties that try to get these infrastructures built and facilitated so that we're able to have broadband and connectivity all across Western North Carolina and not just in the really big cities like Asheville, which, has a university in it and all of that. So we have to have internet here. We want internet for everyone, not just some of the bigger areas. And we're trying to facilitate those conversations and trying to find a way so everyone knows that broadband is important and that we need it.